I am content creator Kimberly Lane Roberts. I empower women entrepreneurs by sharing wealth solutions on my show, Wealth and Women with Kimberly. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wealth and Women with Kimberly. I am Kimberly Lane Roberts, your host and content creator for the show. We have a wonderful show today. It's going to be about how to build wealth by trusting your intuition with founder and CEO Caren McNamara. So before I bring her up from the green room, I always like to start the show and my day with an intention. In this case, we're going to surround ourselves with love, especially with what's going on in the world. It's important to surround ourselves with things that make us feel good, whether it's family, friends, pets. In this case, too, as part of my intention, I always light a candle before the show. This one is from Aromascape Bamboo and Eucalyptus. I spoke on my other show that was recorded last week around the power of bamboo as far as offering strength and flexibility. If you add the eucalyptus piece in there, it's actually great for this time of year. Why? Because we have a lot of congestion, and the eucalyptus oil is wonderful for relieving a lot of the congestions that cold and sinus infections bring on. You can even hang it in your shower too and light your candle at the same time. So enjoy that. And by the way, this candle smells amazing. So I burn that all day long. Okay, you can also learn more about me and my services, how I serve women entrepreneurs and other leaders through Performance Leadership International. I'm also in the process of building a Bay Area peer group, and people join my peer group for 5 different reasons. One, they're really trying to create big growth in their business. So they're trying to make the big decisions that impact their business. They're looking to go from a chief everything officer to a CEO truly. They want to work more on the business, not doing those day-to-day things that are in the business. They're trying to have conversations with other peers just like them. So it's kind of called it the board you can't afford. And not only does it help you grow your business, but it also helps you challenge yourself and grow yourself as well. Okay, let's get into the heart of this show and let's introduce our guest. Caren McNamara is founder and CEO of Conscious Container, a California benefit corporation. And I want to focus a part of our conversation when I bring her up about what a benefit corporation is. I learned a lot about that in speaking with her. There's a lot of good stuff around that for anybody out there interested in how you can create your business around really nurturing the environment in the world. How did she become founder and CEO of Conscious Container? She's actually 20 years she has spent as a successful project and change management consultant. She was inspired by globally looking around at other countries and how they were using sustainable circular economic solutions for reusable bottles. So she thought, how can I do that in the United States? So she's now on a mission to redefine the landscape of sustainable packaging through bottle reuse, in this case, wine bottles, which I love. So please welcome our wonderful guest, Caren McNamara. There she is.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Caren, welcome to the show, Wealth and Women with Kimberly. Thanks for being here today. I really love what you're doing on so many levels. Before we kind of get into the crux of Conscious Container, share with me again what a benefit corporation is. I think, I was new to that idea, and I think there's a lot of people that can maybe convert their businesses into that concept because I think there's a lot of power and goodness in it. So if you can elaborate.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Kimberly, for reaching out and having us connect. The benefit corporation was brought to my attention while I still worked at a large corporation. And what I learned about a benefit corporation is it is a for-profit company, because a lot of times I get that question, is it you're a nonprofit? No. A benefit corporation, we are a C Corp. You can also be an S Corp as a benefit corporation. And essentially the short story on it is a benefit corporation is allowed at the leadership level, the board and the leadership team for that business, to make business decisions that aren't 100% dedicated to profit. So the example that I often give is Yvon Chouinard, who is the founder of Patagonia. As he went along in his journey, and they are a benefit corporation also, he was making decisions about products that didn't show that they were going to be profitable, but it was the right thing to do. So that's a simple example of a benefit corporation, and it allows leadership to make decisions that are balanced, right? They're not all about profit. They're about benefit to the environment, benefit to the social and the social environment, society. So I believe it's a catalyst for how we change doing business, and it unshackles corporations.
I love it because it gets really focused, like you said, on the right thing to do, the right thing for the world, for people, for the environment, for
Mhm.
culture, for community. And I still believe I still believe when you do the right thing, the profit, the money will come and more in abundance. So that's that whole theory around wealth. Um, as I always ask every guest, what do you feel wealth means to you?
I often think it's good to reflect and pause on questions like that. Wealth to me is what about well-being, and that well-being can be your health, the environment that you live in, the words well-being and the conversations that you have. To me, that's wealth, and well-being brings in like a positive place where it's just all around well-being. I believe we can contribute more. There's abundance that's found in well-being because it's I think I like to look at things, as you know, holistically, and well-being to me is where wealth sits.
No, yeah. I don't think you can really truly feel wealthy if you don't have well-being. I mean, you can have a lot of money in the world, but if you don't have your mental health or your physical health or your emotional health, forget it. So
Mhm.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to jump into your journey share. You talk about don't estimate the power of education. Where did that come from and why is that so meaningful to you?
As you and I spoke about earlier, it all started with my mother, and she had a challenging childhood. She lived in a lot of foster homes and so forth. And my grandmother, her mother, was an absolute go getter and really a tough cookie. Even when I was a kid, I can remember some of the things she did. Was I was always so embarrassed. But what my mother recognizes during those challenging times is how important education was. She had it was a single mom upbringing, and she she really leaned into education. We went to Catholic schools and Catholic university, and she ended up going to UC Berkeley and getting
Mm,
a master's degree back in the 50s. And what that brought to her was she was self-sufficient and capable. When she married my father, he was an immigrant, and it was a household that had really kind of a balance on both sides. He was not highly educated, only went up to, I think seventh or eighth grade in the UK. But my mother, I have two sisters, and there was one thing that was ever present for all of us is that you are going to college and you are going to get an education, because she clearly understood how important that was as a woman to be able to fall back. You have an education, you can be self-sufficient. And I can remember a lot of my friends weren't even thinking about going to college back in the day. But I was just so fortunate that I had that influence in my life, that as a woman, you need to have an education, or even a skill. It doesn't necessarily have to be college, but that you have a core foundational skill that can support you through, your whole life.
no, I totally agree with that. My dad was very instrumental for us too. He grew up with not a lot of money and really struggled to go to college, and he was able to do that living very frugally, but he was very adamant that all three of us kids were going to college. There was no question on or doubt on that piece of it. And it doesn't matter if you don't really know what you want to be. You're not the accountant, the attorney, the doctors of the world. It's just get that degree because it just shows commitment, stamina, higher education, and the other piece will come. But I just think that's so important. In fact, my cousins don't never were forced to do that, and they see the difference. And they've commented several times. We wish our father had had pushed us to go because it would have changed the outcome of their life. They're still happy, but I'm just saying it's a game changer really and well-being and wealth, as we were chatting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that takes me to our next tip. And the highlight of the show is how to create your wealth by trusting your intuition. So what was your biggest intuition that you trusted that was pivotal for your life?
Great question. I've always leaned into my intuition ever since I was a little girl. I didn't realize that's what I was doing all along, but the confidence that continued to give me. I was kind of a heavy set young girl. I never got invited to dances and all that kind of thing, but I knew inside, I trusted, well, I'm still a wonderful, beautiful person, even though I wasn't getting invited to all the special events when we're younger. And I'm not really sure what was if there was a big trigger. I do know that, especially when I founded Conscious Container and started on this journey as an entrepreneur, I had never been in this space before.
Mm,
And I continued to trust my intuition to take me to the next step. I took courses on, how to be an entrepreneur, and I had advisors and so forth. But I believe this entrepreneurial journey is where leaning into my intuition became probably that part of my journey. The intuition was really powerful because you get all kinds of advice and you hear a lot, but then you need to take it in and be quiet and almost it's like, what's that first thing that comes to you? That, like, it's almost like that first thought you have
exactly.
oftentimes is that intuition speaking to you. So
It's such a transformational message, and I want to point that out and make that really the highlight of the show. Hence the butterflies, because they're transformational. But it's just, I think, it's a muscle we probably, I think, when I was younger, never listened to
Mhm.
or thought was wrong for various reasons. And it's really important, especially for women, to tune into that muscle, that intuition. And like you said, it's that first initial thing that comes to mind that you might overlook. And that kind of goes along with my tip here. Your greatness, your next step comes from listening to that little voice within. It might be subtle, but it's that voice that helped you start Conscious Container, right?
Yeah, things just come to me, and I was throwing away some glass bottles, and I had seen these systems around the world, and
Mhm.
that they're profitable. That's why they still exist. So I knew there was something there. I was throwing glass bottles away. I go, this is crazy. Why are we throwing all these glass bottles away when so many of them, especially beer and wine, soda, those bottles can't be washed and reused? It can be done. And it came to me, it goes, well, why don't you go try to see if you can do something about it? And that voice came, and those are kind of things that come along that just go, there'll be little triggers
Right.
that say, okay, what can I do about it? And I was in a position in my life where the kids were off the payroll and I was in a position where let's go see what I can do.
So how is it working for you, and how can we support you?
So it's been the most difficult thing I've ever done. The most difficult part of all of this is the raising of capital. And
Mhm.
the business that we have as a startup business, it's not a bright, shiny tech thing, right? It's that we don't have an app. I've worked at a company, I understand application development. We don't need an app. We're a very capital intensive, we wash bottles. So you need bottle washing equipment. So what has been I've realized as I've gone along, and this is what happens as an entrepreneur, you kind of learn as you
Mhm.
go
As
along,
you go along.
is raising capital for this type of a business is really challenging. As we go in, we're raising our seed round right now. As we go into our Series A, I think we'll be in a better place. But what I recognized is the way we are in the process of raising capital has to be in the catalytic capital category. And that's like family funds. We're leaning heavily into the wine industry. We're starting to get some traction over there because the wine industry wants to go do this desperately.
Yes.
They've got a problem with that glass bottle has too much carbon emission in it. They're lightweighting, that's helping. But one of the leading winemakers said, this is the holy grail for the wine industry if we can begin to reuse those wine bottles. And it's getting the capital in and getting what it is about getting the right players to the table. And something I've done more recently, so we're looking for catalytic capital investors, family funds and such. That's really the ask out there. But what's been really interesting, Kimberly, is that more recently I've really let go. And I said, if this is meant to be, these are the people that are going to come forward, this group. And we have some winemakers, we're starting to get some traction. But what I'm finding is just letting go is opening the door. That's kind of the intuition side of it.
No, I think it's when you set an intention, you listen to your intuition, you're going after it, you're trying to make this happen for the good of people, the world, and obviously it'll help the wine industry too, but it's just what a great environmental thing to be doing, right? But then letting go of how you get there and just knowing it's going to happen. And I think that's beautiful. I'm actually doing that as I'm building this group. I'm like, no, I'm just it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. It's just people will come, they'll meet me, it'll work, right? Mm-hmm. So I think just having that intention, letting go, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to end the show with. Anything else you want to comment on?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, inviting me into your forum. And within intuition and the challenges we face, it's to trust, trust in yourself, trust in others. And really every day I let go. You just have to continue to let go to open the door for other things to come in. And they do. Sometimes unimaginable. You haven't thought about it. So trust, I think, is another big part of how we lean into our intuition and how we move forward. Right?
Yeah, that's how we flow. If you're not trusting, you're resisting. And that is not good for anybody. So when you're trusting, you're kind of receiving in the receptive mode, if you will, and you'll be surprised if you open your heart and open your mind and open your world to what will show up. So what a great way to end the show, Caren. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm going to drop you down to the green room here shortly. You connect with Caren via her LinkedIn profile at Caren McNamara. There's her contact information right there. Caren, bye for now, and I will talk to you in just a second, okay? All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on Wealth and Women with Kimberly. We had a wonderful show with Caren McNamara today. I shared her information. If you're interested in supporting her and her cause, her wonderful cause, capital or any other way you can support her, please reach out to her on LinkedIn. If you'd like to learn more about how I serve women entrepreneurs through my peer advisory group or executive coaching, you can find me at Performance Leadership International or just follow that link there below. I am on, our show appears every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Central Time. And I will look forward to seeing you here next week. Bye for now. You can learn more about my services and products at performanceleadershipinternational.com. Make sure to join me every week on the SWE Media Network YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.